Welcome in everybody to a Tuesday night edition of Philly Guy Speaks. Joe Quills here with you tonight, and I'm going to take this off for now. And if I get to it, if I need to, I will put them back on. But it looks like I will be um, flying solo tonight. But this is going to be a quick podcast tonight because I did want to. Um, I did want to touch base with you guys, let you know, and get a podcast out tonight and a stream for you guys for your consumption. It's going to be a quick one because I got to be up early tomorrow morning, but I didn't want to step on the toes of Bleacher Brothers. Even though I'm not on the Tony Bruno Sports Network, I have respect for my crew, my teammates, um, but I'm not the type of person who will try to say, don't go to them, go to me. But I believe that if you're going to be a team, promote each other. And I promote good people. I don't care if it's Tony Bruno Sports Network or No Filter or whoever it is. I'm not worried about that. Oh, what I'm worried about is good people, and I will promote good people like Tony Bruno, the whole Tony Bruno Sports Network. Download that app. Um, it's an interest. It's a great app. I watch and listen to it a lot, and just have some fun with you guys. So, normally, now if this was actually on the Tony Bruno Sports Network, I would have gotten reamed for starting 5 minutes late. But the great thing about not being on the network, I can start on my time, and if I want to do a quick hour episode as opposed to a 2 hour episode, which would probably be my shift on Tony Bruno Sports Network if I was on there, because I would also have a sidekick too. You got to have a sidekick in sports radio. So, um, but um, but I really really wanted to touch base with you guys, give you some thoughts on something that came up over the weekend that is a pretty serious point here that we would make here. And I'm going to, as I do, I'll bring some counterpoints to it as well. And, if you're looking at the video live on Twitch or you're watching after the fact on Twitch, it's about court storming. And I'll get to that in a minute. And, I'm going to be missing points here and there, but I'm going to make my points as well. So, and also, even though I do have the segment, the stupid stuff that I saw, I do. It is something stupid, but it was funny, and it is what it is. But thankfully, in spring training, you can do something goofy like what they did. So, um, just 1 second here. So, but the one thing I do want to mention here, what I wanted to talk about was the incident that occurred over the weekend at Wake Forest. And, here's the thing. Some people, when you look at the gambling side of it, you know, oh, Wake Forest was a favorite in the game and blah, blah, blah. But there's so many reasons why. Um, there's so many different things that I could say about this. And, here's the thing. Duke and North Carolina and probably Virginia, they're the three main teams in the conference. Maybe you could throw Miami in there because they were in the Final Four. But, you know, I mean, I can understand court storming to a certain extent because of the fact that it's Duke, it's North Carolina. It would be Kentucky, even though Kentucky's having a down year. Kansas, Houston, since they're the number one school right now. All those little things. But I don't know what the past history was between Duke and Wake Forest. Like, did Duke win 12 or 13, or is it because we're finally good now and we finally beat Duke or something like that? I didn't see the game, so I didn't know what was the story behind court storming. Was it just because it's Duke? Was it because of this? Was it because of that? I don't know. And the great thing is, when you watch this on YouTube, when you watch this replay on Twitch, you can hit me up on Twitter at Joe Quills. I'm trying to get my finger right here, so right over there on the left-hand side there, because I'm seeing a reverse image of myself. So the one thing I will say is, I don't know everything when it comes to why they stormed the court. Now, mind you, Wake Forest, they had a couple of good years with Tim Duncan. They have a couple of good years here or there. But you have down years and you have up years. It isn't like Duke. It isn't like North Carolina. It isn't like Virginia, even though they do have a down year every now and then. Just, it happens. But, like, you're not going to see Duke usually storm the court when they beat North Carolina. And you're definitely not going to storm the court when they beat Wake Forest at home. Certain schools bring that out of the student body. And I don't know about you. Now, in a way, I feel like it is a little bit of a... I mean, I find it interesting, but it also costs money because the SEC, they find teams, and like there was one, somebody stormed the court when they beat Kentucky, and what happened was the SEC fined the school, and the money goes to Kentucky, I believe. So, you're going to have something like that happen, but the question I have here, and this is part of the counterpoint that I like to bring up, would this be a story if, let's say, some walk-on sprained his ankle instead of the senior from Duke, Filipowski, or whatever his name, however you pronounce his name? Would it be that big of a deal if it was a walk-on? I don't think it would be that big of a deal. But because it was an ESPN, it was a nationally televised game, yeah, they're going to bring it up. And then on top of that, what would have happened if Bronny James got hurt? Now, granted, who's going to storm the court with USC this year, because USC hasn't lived up to expectations this year. But let's say USC's in the top 10, and you're playing Arizona State, which is crap this year, I believe. If Arizona State beats USC and USC's top 10, Arizona State's probably going to storm the court. And what happens if it's, oh my God, it's LeBron's kid that got hurt? Oh, you're going to see them storm. You're going to see them try to solve it right away. And we did see some different things that came up here. I did find this on SI.com. And Greg Byrne, who was the athletic director for Alabama, he proposed a revolutionary idea to end court storming in college basketball. He said the home team should forfeit the game if a massive fan swarm the court after a victory. Now here's the problem. The way basketball arenas are set up, you're not going to have a great way of stopping these kids. You could have 500 security guards locked arm in arm like that. They're going to run them over. And you're going to see like a domino effect. You can only do so much. And I know with my forced sportsmanship that I tell you about, I did see one school a year or two ago. They were prepared. They knew it was coming. And they had rope so that, we got to have our guys shake hands with the other team. We got to make sure that happens. Let's get that rope so we can keep the fans at the middle of the field, middle of the court. We'll keep them towards the media table. but we're going to make sure they shake hands. So they roped it off. But with the way things are, you never know. Every arena is set up differently, and and I listened to Tony Bruno yesterday, and I'll tell you what. So Tony's going to make it funny, make it. Can I say asinine is a good word to use here without making it an insult? Because Tony's there to entertain. Yeah, he talks sports, he talks politics, he talks this, he talks that. But I feel like you are going to have to address it, and sometimes you have to wait until something crazy happens. Like, for example, back in the 50s or 60s, the penalty box was just one box. It was the same box where you had the guys that were operating the clock and the stats and everything else. And they had to separate the box, and they had them separated within a week because two guys got into a huge fight on the ice and then decided, oh, we're gonna continue the fight in the box. Like even with like the Flyers back at the Spectrum, there was a huge fight. They went back into the runway, and back then you could walk from the one locker room to the other. They were fighting in the tunnel underneath underneath the arena. That's why when you used to watch those old Spectrum games where you watch the Flyers going into the room, as they would say, or to the ice, you would see that gate there. That gate was there for a reason. It's because the Flyers were the Broad Street Bullies. They brought that anger out in you as a hockey player, and you were going to fight even after the game because you did not like them. So yeah, you would definitely go and fight beyond that. But but I don't know what the solution is. Some people have solutions here. Byrne has it as, okay, it's now a loss, forfeit. Center Kyle Filipowski, I don't know what I said for his first name. He was injured following the team's loss to Wake Forest on Saturday. The Demon Deacon fans stormed the court, and the center suffered an ankle injury in the process. He was trying to avoid people, and next thing you know, he gets bumped into one guy and all that. He gets a little disoriented because you're getting bumped. You're trying to avoid people, protect yourself, do a million things at once. And also, there was an incident with Caitlin Clark as well. God forbid Caitlin Clark, there goes the whole Iowa season. Because Iowa's a good team, but they wouldn't be a top 5 team without them. And by the way, I saw today on Instagram that the game this weekend between Iowa and Ohio State's 2, Iowa's 5, general seats are going for $500 a pop. Highest regular season game for a women's game in history. But back to this here. Burns said kids aren't going to go around saying, oh, I don't want to do this because the school is going to get fined $200,000. Fans don't think that. And like he says, it doesn't enter their mindset. But if they know the game that they've just been a part of, celebrate a great win that led to that, if they know that they were going to lose the game immediately, that would stop them. Possible. Now, there's always things you can do, like, you don't want to do the inhumane things, even though I was joking around. If you put the nets up, just make sure it's dolphin safe. I was joking around about tunas and stuff like that. But I'll tell you what, you gotta, you're going to have to do something. Now, thankfully, after this next week or two, the chances of a court storming are near zero because 98% of those games are going to be neutral site games because it's conference tourney season. It's March Madness. Hopefully I can say that without getting in trouble. But you get the idea. Now, One of the recent fines for court storming was dealt to the University of South Carolina. This is an SEC rule that they do to try to curb it. Um, Fans rushed to court following its men's basketball team over Kentucky. They had to pay the SEC $100,000 for a first offense. But then again, South Carolina, other than that one year they got to the Final Four, it was a total shocker that they got to the Final Four. The men's team hasn't been consistently great, if that's the proper wording. I would just say some fans know that you know, we're Duke, we don't do that. We're this school, we don't do that. But sometimes you do have schools that do that, and it's understandable. Like, I can understand, like, for example, you're Mississippi Valley State, and if you watched yesterday's show on the Bleacher Brothers on YouTube, I gave out whoever played Mississippi Valley State because I said, oh, they're 0-27, blah, blah, blah. Well, Mississippi Valley State won last night. They broke their losing streak. You're welcome, Mississippi Valley State. And when and who knows? They probably had nobody in the stands that wanted to go to the game, but I could understand them storming their court because guess what? We're now 1-27. Our losing streak of 30 games in a row, whatever it is over. Hallelujah, holy crap, past the Tylenol. But some teams, the teams that aren't used to the repeated success and not getting to the point where we're too good to storm the court, you're going to have those schools that are going to do it, but it's how you stop it before you start it. Now, the problem is, like, for example, Jay Billis said fans should get arrested or cited if they storm the court. Good luck with that. Because you're going to have about 2,000 kids. You're probably going to have about 30 officers. And 90% of those kids are going to disappear before you can corral them in. Good luck with that. John Shire wants it banned, although he doesn't suggest a potential punishment. There's got to be some sort of a punishment, you would think, right? I mean, as a fan that watches on TV, it's neat seeing that every once in a while. But the problem is, even now with NIL, you're going to lose money, potential money that you make in NIL money. If you're a star player, like, let's use that Bronny James scenario I mentioned. If USC was good, they're going to lose out on NIL money possibly. And God forbid they wrench their knee to the point where they can't play basketball anymore. But, the way medical science is, you can get somebody back on the court in 9 months probably. If somebody wrenches their knee to the point where they can't play anymore, that's a loss of revenue of millions upon millions of dollars. And part of the reason why these kids want to go pro after high school and have to wait till that second year, and I think it was Mr. Shorts on Backwards guy. I can't think of his name. I gotta check this here. So let me see here. Let me see here. Shows. Oh, well, but he used to play college basketball. He played at Notre Dame, got himself in trouble with a credit card or some stuff like that. He's a Jewish guy. And I only mention that because he has mentioned he did play for an Israeli team in an Israeli league. And I'm scrolling through my podcast here because it's bugging me now because I know who he is. I just can't think of his name. I I know who it is. I know how to find this now. Doug Gottlieb. Doug Gottlieb said that. But, the thing is, you're going to lose out on money. And I forget what I was saying about, leading it to Doug Gottlieb, but I'll tell you what. If you lose a career because of this, you're gonna it'd be an unfortunate thing, but you have to do something. And you know thankfully it's not a superstar in the making who, oh, I know what I'm saying now. Doug Gottlieb, I believe, was the one that said, especially when I was listening to a podcast that was from the Dan Patrick Show over Christmas week, because I'm that far behind listening to my podcast, because I still listen that far back because I'm the type of person, like, for example, I listen to Preston and Steve, and it's like, if I listen live, it's like, why are they joking around about this? And I can kind of remember a little bit, even though I won't say the exact date, January 3rd, they said this, and it stuck, and they ran with it, and they've been going with it ever since. But, I believe it was Doug Gottlieb that said, part of the reason why they want to go pro as quickly as possible is so that they can get to their second contract. Same is true in the NFL with players. You want to get to that second contract because the first contract, it's all slotted in place. Once you get to that second contract, you can make the big bucks. Now, but the thing is, now what makes things interesting is NIL. You can make more money than in your first year in the pros if you're not a first round draft pick. So, yeah, I mean, some of these kids are going to have a tough decision, but some kids, they can actually say, hey, I want to be in the NFL after that 3-year wait after high school. I want to be in the NBA after 1 year. I want to be in the NHL, even though the NHL doesn't have the pay scale the way that these other sports do. Oh, I want to get to the majors. I want to get through the minors as quickly as possible. That sort of thing. Even though you get a $6 million signing bonus for signing your contract and things like that. But I don't know what the solution is. Now, granted, you could put a net around the court, but I mean, I joked around with Tony. I was like, hey, if they want to act like animals, the problem is all of a sudden you're going to get backlash because, oh, we have gates up now. You can't do that. It's also a safety hazard. God forbid you have a fire in the arena. Like, for example, they had to delay the Wisconsin-Indiana game, I think it was, in Wisconsin tonight. Let me double check that as I'm talking here. You do want to get, I mean, you don't want to do that because God forbid something happens and you have to escape. And by the way, BYU wanted Fog Allen Fieldhouse tonight over number 7 Kansas. I almost said Arkansas. Let me find this here. Big Ten. Wisconsin was playing Indiana, and it was actually in Indiana where they had that. They had a fire alarm issue, and they mentioned it on the Bleacher Brothers show tonight. So, but that's the reason why you don't have gating like you would see in soccer in some third world countries. At least with, the only thing is, what happens if, God forbid, you have an issue at a baseball stadium and now with the netting around the field. But, there are openings in there, but the problem is there's only so much room for people to go in one by one. If you had to God forbid, go on the field for whatever reason. Um, but I would say there really is no real issue. There really is no real solution. And, like they say, it's above my pay grade. And, you could put netting around, but, and, and like Tony Bruno said on his show yesterday, they got that netting to such a science now where it doesn't affect your viewing. I mean, it's there and you'll notice it, but you don't notice it as bad as it was. I mean, they do it in hockey too. Like, for example, if you saw my Instagram a couple of weeks ago, I stayed after the Super Bowl and I said, you know what? I want to go to a Vegas Knights game, Golden Knights game. I want to see what that experience is like. Now, granted, they played like the Golden Showers that night, but hey, it was a great experience. I got to see all the things that they do between periods before the game, all the stuff that they do, and you see why other teams are copycatting them, because they do certain things that when they were born, when they were Vegas born, if that's the correct term I can use for them coming into the league, they were doing certain things because, hey, it's Vegas. We're expected to do something like this. But, but I'll tell you this. Thankfully, you get into those 99% neutral site games that you're going to have coming up. And you're not going to have much in the way of court storming the rest of the year. But thankfully, you got April, May, June, July, August, September to come up with a plan. And even if you come up with the plan and it's the day before Midnight Madness starts, implement it. As long as it's not a cage animal thing that I joke around about on the Tony Bruno show in his chat, you can be that, you can do something with that. I don't know what it is, because just putting a bunch of security guards there is not going to be the answer either, because it's going to be a domino effect. You knock one over, you're going to knock them all over. It's going to be a bunch of dominoes. But yeah, but that's something, it's very interesting. And the one thing I will tell you guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to comment below. I want to know what you think. Even any video, tell you the truth. I'll get the alerts. I'll try to get back to you. I'll try to do everything I can. I do all I can, the one thing I want to do is I don't want to be like regular sports talk radio. And I know my Philly friends will understand this, even though I don't think I have any of my Philly friends with me here tonight. And I don't listen to Philly sports talk radio. Part of the reason why is, especially in Philadelphia, it could be the middle of July, or actually, let's say it's the end of May, and let's say somehow the Flyers made a run in the Stanley Cup playoffs. They're still going to want to talk about the Eagles, and they're going to come up with some goofy stuff that they want to talk about. And God forbid you talk about something, that isn't according to the program director's script. That's the great thing about me streaming for you here tonight and podcasting and sharing my video is on demand on YouTube, and you can watch it on demand here on twitch.tv/JoeQuills. I will definitely say that I'm up, just because I'm not live when you're probably hearing this, it doesn't mean that you just say, hey, Joe's an idiot and that's the end of it. We can have a fun conversation after the fact. And my goal is to make people think. Even if it's, interesting point, but he's wrong. And I will tell you, I've been wrong more than I'm right. Look at my Quills Picks Winners articles over the last couple of weeks. I've gone ice effing cold. But I'll tell you what. There's nothing, there's nothing better than an intelligent conversation between two people. And I was telling somebody today, we were even talking about women. And I said, it took me forever, um, but you know, you know, physical looks are great, but intelligence is a key to me. And also not afraid to have a dumb conversation. Bad, goofy jokes, bad jokes, dad jokes, whatever. But Maddie's here, and uh, definitely not you. I'm quoting what he says here. Definitely not you. You got your Yankees friend here. But sad news to the Packard community. Cherry Starr, widow of the late Packers quarterback Bart Starr, sadly passed away today. Yeah, prayers to her family and condolences, not only to her family that is, and to the Packers community as well. I did see you post that this morning in SJ's Discord page. So, yeah, I did see that, and you know, and that's, and like I said at the beginning of the show, one good thing about me not being on the Tony Bruno Sports Network as of yet, and I'm not saying I'm going to be on there. Is it a goal? Maybe. But truthfully, I'm happy with getting my content out there because I'm the type of person where if something happens that I can talk about sports as much as possible, then great. And if I don't, that's fine as well. But, I mean, I do have a real job. But I probably got into sports talk, podcasting, now streaming, probably a little too late in my life. But I'll tell you what, the one thing I tell people is, just do it. Be like Nike, just do it, get something on your resume. Just because, I got the age factor against me, probably, you know, you know, and you don't want to be a type of person that's on your deathbed saying, "Oh, I wish I did this," even though you're just thinking it to yourself as you're about to pass on. Live your life. But I definitely don't want to be. I definitely don't want to be like your typical sports talk. And that thing is, like, for example, if you catch the Tony Bruno Sports Network on its app, or you listen to it on TonyBrunoSportsNetwork.com or BleacherBrothers.com or on YouTube on the individual channels that they have on there for the morning show, Pete Shepard. The LFG show is actually on Facebook. Tony Bruno show is also on YouTube. You'll see what I mean. Even though you get you get different views from different parts of the country because that's where they've mostly been known to work at. It's nice getting different points of view. I don't care what it is. And I'm not afraid of hearing opposing points of view, even in politics. And I'm not going to talk about politics here, but the thing is, some people are like, "Oh, I got to mute this word. I got to mute that word because it's against my political, the beliefs I have, whether it's liberal or conservative or whatever you are." I want to see it because I want to be prepared for when somebody hijacks one of my comments or one of my posts because they want to spout their case when it has absolutely nothing to do with somebody not being able to hit a curveball or something. You know what I mean? But I'm all for constructive criticism. I say it every time. And don't be afraid to comment on my YouTube videos. Don't be afraid to hit me up at Joe Quills. I am willing to talk to you even after the fact, even though some things I'll say, did I really say that? Sometimes I'll have to go back into the video that I have saved on my computer. Like, yeah, I did say that. I am an idiot. But at least I admit I'm an idiot. But now, one other thing I do want to mention here, like I said, this is a quickie show tonight because I have to get up early tomorrow morning. One thing I'm glad that I'm not a part of is a league where they punish you for finishing dead last. And especially because I have some friends that will they'll come up with some sick ideas. And I would probably come up with something as well. But if you play in one of my leagues, if I ever become a commissioner or anything like that, and Maddie, you know, within reason, I wouldn't be the type of person that would be sadistic enough to come up with a thing like that. Probably the most sadistic I would do is award you a roll of toilet paper, let's say, but that's lame compared to some of the things that happen. And I'm going to show you one thing that occurred in Florida. And let me pull up this video. And this is Tim Mayza of the Toronto Blue Jays. At least he's in their training camp this year. And I know the screen is black, so excuse me for showing you nothing for a couple of seconds here. Trying to get this. Okay. At least I think it's up. No. Hold on. There we go. Here we go. Tim Mayza. He's a pitcher in the Blue Jays organization. And because he finished last in his fantasy football league last year, he had to wear a jersey wearing his team's record on the back. The things that people do. And it's all in good fun. It happens, I mean, I've had years where I've won 3 games, something like that. And there are years where, like last year, I went 13-1 and somehow did not win the championship. It's just that the injuries caught up with me at the end of the year. So this is a story from Keegan Matheson of MLB.com. Tim Mayza auditioned for a new job. After a disappointing offseason, cast serious doubts over his future in the NFL front office. He finished dead last in the Blue Jays Fantasy Football League. His 4-10 record fading quickly into the rearview mirror of eventual champion Danny Jansen. And Mayza's teammate had a new punishment in mind. For the first 3 innings of the Blue Jays' 14-13 loss to the Phillies, which I think was Eagles against the Argonauts instead, he served as the club's bat boy with 4-10 emblazoned on the back of his jersey like you saw. Some managers around the league pointed to the injury troubles Mayza's franchise ran into in the season. He's not willing to trade. He's not willing to trade and not willing to change. They're giving what they thought during the year. But he had Tyreek Hill, though. So you can tell that he deserved to be finishing last with Tyreek Hill. Now, I don't know if it was a complete fantasy thing or what. I'm not going to play the article. I'm not going to play the video here. But, you do have... some leagues do different things, and if I ever host a fantasy league where I'm commissioner, I'm just looking at some of the things on here. Anything else worth mentioning here? Um, but that's something interesting that occurred um, as the start of spring training here. And, it's a perfect time to do something like that because guess what? You can joke around, you can keep it nice and loose, and, you do get an opportunity to do that. So, but Maddie, if you're in that league this year, because SJ and I have been talking about it a little bit. We haven't talked about it lately, but um, we will be doing a. We'll probably be doing a league this year, and probably gonna have to do a second league, like for some people I know. Um, but you know, I'm not gonna do anything crazy like that. And as commissioner, I'll probably be like, no, we ain't doing anything like that. But um, you gotta have fun, and that's the thing. And the only requirement I would have in any league that I have that I would run is don't give up on your team just because you're close to being eliminated or have been eliminated. I know we had my league that I went 13-1 on was with the Mike Abadir show. Mike Abadir is the guy that whose show I was on when the Eagles won the Super Bowl in February 2018. You can actually find that if you dig hard enough on YouTube. Go to about the halfway point, you'll hear me talking about different things from 2018. Um, See how accurate I was in my predictions. Not many. Um, but I'll tell you what. The only thing I would say is if we have a postseason tourney, like let's say we had a postseason event, I would probably do something along the lines of, hey, whoever wins the NIT tourney that I call it, or the non-invited tournament, or the consolation tourney, whatever you want to call it, if you win that, like for example, I'm not saying it's going to happen because, um, I would float everything by who would be my cohorts with this. I would say, hey, if you win the consolation tourney, whatever playoff thing that we have, front your I will front your entry fee, let's say, whatever it is, or something like that. You know, or just remind people that, hey, you may be out of it, but, you know, do you want your best friend? Do you want this person who you may not like as much as you're letting on? Do you want them to win? I'd be kind of like that as well. Do you really want them to win? And things happen, injuries occur, and all that. But sometimes you get those sneaky moves in the middle of the year. Like for example, in the league that I was in, I mentioned I went 13-1. Middle of the season, I picked up Dak Prescott because not one but two people cut him during the season. But the one thing I will say is, um, we're not going to have any punishment for finishing dead last. Now, if there was a way that I can incorporate it, I would consider promotion and relegation, but I don't know if you could do that on ESPN or something like that, because the way that they do ESPN anymore, you do have your league, and even if it's not a true dynasty, you do reactivate the league every year, because I'm in a baseball league where I finished dead last, and thankfully I did not. Well, actually, that is a dynasty because we get to protect up to 5 players. But, like for example, in football, it's starting from scratch every year. We don't have a we don't have any protected players in there. Everybody goes back into the pot when the season's over. So, but I'm not going to do anything like that. But but with the baseball league, I sold in the beginning of July. we were talking about it the other night, and I was saying, I don't even think Bryce Harper got in the bat for me because I used him. I think I protected him, and the season was going sideways on me, and everybody was getting hurt on me. So I was like, you know what? I'm selling. Give me whatever. Boom. It was like a 7-for-1, 7-for-2 trade. I didn't give a shit at that point, but I'm still trying to win games because I didn't want to finish dead last. And, I'm still competitive with that. And the fantasy football league that I was in on the Mike Abadir show, not this past season, but the season before, I got so pissed when I lost in the final week and went from a 90-some% chance of making the playoffs to not making it. I said, hey guys, I'm warning you. I'm winning this consolation tourney. You better be ready to play. Nobody was ready to play. I blew them out 3 straight weeks. But, but that just made my competitive juices because I am competitive no matter what. But I am definitely the type of person where if I lose and it's fair, congratulations. Don't have to get into a formal handshake line like the NCAA tries to do with the basketball. But yeah, it's definitely something, But, I'm trying to be as fair as possible. And hopefully I don't have to make any tough decisions. And, I would have people around me who would help me with those decisions. Because I believe, like, if you have a party of 3, 2 can outvote 1. Because the worst thing that happens is you have 2 people running it. And even though you're all well meshed, it's still one or the other. So, and, you don't want to vote out the other and have stagnation or anything like that. But, so yes, I am keeping it short tonight. I do have a couple of topics I do want to bring up for Thursday unless something else comes up. I did see NFL Commission, the competition committee, they were pitching a kickoff coverage rule. I'll probably talk about that. I found an interesting article about the college football hiring spree, head coach hiring spree in 2018. It's interesting to note that there's only one coach that's left from that hiring class. And it's very surprising who the one coach is left, what school he's at, and what his overall record is. Little fun stuff here, because, I want to keep it fun with you guys. And that's what this is all about. And, sometimes they're going to be short streams, sometimes they're going to be long ones, and I'm all about having fun. So one thing I'll say is, even though this is a short stream tonight, especially if you're watching on YouTube, don't be afraid to comment below, and check everything out here, Joe at BleacherBrothers.com. Check out my articles on BleacherBrothers.com. I'm going to try to write that up real quick tonight. We had a little snafu this morning because I don't like to get up early in the morning. And I got an email at 9 o'clock. And I wrote my article about 1 o'clock in the morning. That's probably why I didn't fall asleep till like 3, because I was just laying there in bed, not getting comfortable, not being able to fall asleep. I said, I got I got an email reply. Oh, you got the wrong file. I'm like, oh shit. And by the way, if you had 1056, congratulations. I said the S word. At least I think that was my first curse tonight. But seriously, I would definitely say, as my ADD kicks in again, this is all in fun. At least that's what I think it is. Oh, the Bleacher Brothers story. Okay. So I didn't see the email till like 12 o'clock. So I said, because I knew that the race was like at 2:20. That was the feature race. I said, it's a 2:20 race. I said, you know what? I didn't say it without that, but I said, you know what? let's skip it for today. So I get a text 20 minutes later. Send me the file. Okay. Send the file. Boom. And it was up like 20 minutes later, about an hour before the race went off. Personally, I would have preferred it wasn't posted because the horse didn't win. But the one thing I will say is not only my articles, but everything like that. Check out BleacherBrothers.com for all your sports needs. I am planning on I'm planning on expanding my articles in the coming weeks. It's just the team player aspect. I don't want to be the person who writes a second article about the same topic, like, oh, Phillies baseball. I don't want to. If somebody else is going to write it, go right ahead, because I don't mind being the horse racing guy. I don't mind being the horse racing degenerate. But you know, I would check BleacherBrothers.com, and I hear from AJ a couple of times, who's the leader, the owner, whatever title you want to give him. He said that 3 of my 10 articles, or 3 of my articles that I've written, and I've written a bunch of them since November, because I felt like I'm not pulling my fair share. And I'm pulling my fair share because it's also definitely something I want to write about. Horse racing. I like gambling. And I'm not going to be afraid of telling you know when to stop. It's okay to not wager. It's okay to write an article and not bet on the race. All that stuff. I'm just, I'm just sitting here, and I write the article up, I send it out, and boom, it's posted the next day. He said that 3 of the articles are top 10 out of Bleacher Brothers, and with a sport like horse racing, I don't really see it, but if it's true, one thing I'd love to see is somebody actually respond to it and say, hey, you're on a bit of a cold streak or something like that. Don't be afraid to comment on anybody's stuff, as long as it's professional within reason. But if it's not within reason, not just total dick move, then yeah, I can understand why people block people. But let's keep it fair, let's keep it humane, and go from there. And I got my article to write for tonight, so but I'm going to call it a quick night here tonight. Do want to thank Maddie for joining me tonight, and do want to thank everybody who's listening and watching after the fact. And we'll have a longer one on Thursday, and I'll catch you Thursday here at twitch.tv/Joe Quills. Just a reminder, the Philly Guy Speaks podcast is part of the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. And as I said before, BleacherBrothers.com for all your sports needs. We're going to cut this short tonight a little early, and I will catch you tomorrow, Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 Pacific. If you're in another time zone, we'll figure it out. And just follow me at Joe Quills. Have a great night, everybody, and I will catch you on Thursday.